Hello everyone, my name is Nathan and today it's time for another episode of Oxygen Not Included here in our one duplicant challenge. In the previous episode we built this mega resource shaft that is going to be quite useful in the future, and today I would like to tap into this natural gas geyser. For the longest time we are now operating on coal. We still have a whole bunch of it and a whole bunch of it to dig up, but over time I think it's a really bad strategy not to tap into the very easy resources. A natural gas geyser will output at 150 degrees, which means we can build everything out of steel and not run the risk of overheating. So let's think about this for a brief moment. We want to capture as much natural gas as possible and only use it when we need power. And hopefully if we do this right, we can last the entirety of the dormancy of the geyser. Well, right now it is dormant, so I think I want to make my way over there, kind of dig up everything, and then we're gonna encase it in a layer. Then we're going to analyze it and start to plan out the room. In this case, it's going to be in our best interest to actually start with the production of steel. And in order to do so, we need a little something called kiln here. We already have a kiln upstairs, but I rather used the downstairs one, so it's already nearby the metal refinery. Et voila, there is my kiln. Let's craft some refined carbon. Now, how much do we want to make? Let's just make about 50 crafts. That should cover the steel cost of this natural geyser contraption. There it is open, the natural gas can go out. We are actually gonna analyze this, and yeah, we might want to do this quickly so we can estimate just how much time there is left until it becomes active again. We might have to hurry up depending on the results. Another day has passed and it looks as though we might be able to finish this in today's cycle, and then I'll either be relieved or scared. You know, it just occurred to me what I should have done is possibly put the kiln right there, because then it can be reached by the auto sweeper, and the auto sweeper already has access to some coal here in the storage bin. Yeah, I think that actually makes a little bit more sense. There it is, analysis completed. It will be active again in, let me see, 28 cycles. Perfect. It has a calculated average output of 122 grams per second. If we check out the power, do we already have? Yeah, natural gas generator is using 90 grams per second. So we could run one natural gas generator the entire time, or we could go for two, but with breaks in between. There is my kiln. Let's see if that actually works. If I set this up, yeah, look at that. It's actually moving the items over to the kiln, so it can go ahead and just start producing. And in the meantime, I'm bringing in some more coal. That should last for a while. Oh, well, you look at that. We accidentally made a glossy Draco just by having this thing in here. Nice. Okay, time to encase this. I'm actually going to use sedimentary rock for contraptions that don't get that hot. 150 degrees is not hot, and you can take any insulation material you like. I'm going to keep the igneous rock and ceramic reserved for hotter projects. And so the first thing I would like to see is this encased approximately like so. Now we basically have to decide how long we want to make this room. What do we want in here? We want the natural gas generators in here because they are going to be cooled down by the natural gas itself. I mean, of course, if you can call this cooling down, but I'm probably going to have two of these generators nearby, then a smart battery. And then somewhere at the very end, we're going to have our pump in order to get the gases somewhere else. One pump is probably enough. Yeah, it's enough because we can pump 500 grams with just one pump. And the max output is below that. Now, actually, before I build all of these, it might be wiser to get rid of the terrain on the top. Yeah, I want all this nasty stuff to drop down so I don't actually have to have it inside of the contraption and remove it later. Wonderful, thank you very much. Now we can actually build the ceiling and we can build the floor. Nice, my construction skill modifier just raised to +10. Not too bad, halfway until we reached the actual base stats of the vanilla game. I'm still happily crafting away the refined carbon. Let's now set up some steel. We're gonna need at least enough steel for a pump and 2 natural gas generators. So that's 16 crafts for the generators, and let's just go with 20 crafts for now. And this will of course have to be done by manual labor. But let me tell you, I already have nice plans for natural smelters using volcanoes, and it's going to be pretty fun. And there is our first steel. Holy cow, we did it! Steel 100 kilograms. Now we are actually cooling down the liquid again, the oil here. It's coming out at 160 degrees currently. Just with one pass, we can actually cool it down all the way to minus, what is that? Minus 10 or so. That's nice. Some of you were afraid because of the water that is gonna accumulate here, but it's eventually just gonna flow down or freeze over again. I'm also gonna set up an automatic dispenser here in order to bring all the lime that I currently have, so I will be a little bit more efficient bringing the materials to the metal refinery. Lime is categorized as consumable ore, so that's what I want to see here. And what this is gonna do is I'm gonna bring 2.5 tons of lime directly over here instead of just the 10 or 20 kilograms needed for one craft. Oh yes, and while I'm at it, I'm also gonna bring the refined iron that I already have, some even from the printing pod. Much better. Now I'm crafting one after another. Hopefully the biome is gonna keep up. Let's actually check this out. Ooh, easy, easy. We managed to heat it up by about 20 degrees so far in the lower portion. We're now down to 22 cycles, so maybe slowly but surely we need to hurry up. Let's plan this out. We have enough for the first generator that I want to place here. We first have to finish the ceiling. And we're down to 6 steel crafts. Oh my gosh. Maybe this now really goes a little bit too quickly, though at the end of the crafting spree the biome can cool down again. Okay, nice. We've made some substantial progress, and then I went into my test world in order to test something, and I noticed that natural gas is actually less dense than steam. I originally planned for the polluted water that's coming out of the natural gas generator to be evaporated into steam, and then I would have picked it up with a steam turbine in order to get rid of it. However, this is not possible, so we'll have to come up with something else. Considering the steam is naturally gonna flow down, we might be able to trick it by letting it go through an airflow tile. So as long as it is still a liquid, it is gonna remain on this layer. However, as soon as it evaporates into steam, it's gonna be able to flow down. And then we make a little chamber like this, for instance, in order to pick up the steam and do something else with it. I also made a little power shaft here, so we will be closing this off like so and pumping it out. For that we need a little bit more research, and I also already prepared some of the cabling that is going to go all the way over to the mega resource shaft. Actually, thinking about this, it might be better to set up the gas pump on the top. We could even do it above the generators. Why not? Save a little bit on space. And that also means we can move the battery and maybe everything else as well. We just bring the heavy watt wire up, and then we can set up a sensor. Let's see, we need an atmos sensor to detect the amount of natural gas we have in there. We cannot exceed 5 kilograms, otherwise the geyser is gonna overpressure. I'm also gonna go ahead and add a hydro sensor here to detect how much liquid we have on the floor. Below it we have the airflow tile. In case we get some steam, it can then flow down and we can take care of that. However, next to that hydro sensor I also want a mini pump. Now we don't have access to the mini pumps yet, do we? Mini liquid pump and gas pump. We need a little bit of special science for that, but yeah, I think we can do it, and it's gonna be worth it because we are not only gonna need it in this project but many others. And of course the smart battery is gonna be hooked up to the generators. To do that research we will have to reactivate the material study terminal, and you gave me the tip to actually set these rat bolt generators to 51 as they are losing a little bit of rats as they travel, and so we will reach 50 plus 50 exactly, and it's not going to be that much of a waste if we want to fill this up all the way. Now you pointed out correctly that we could send a signal out here through a NOT gate instead of having the switch, but I wanted it to be manual because this is far from being automated. And I wanted some form of control, especially because we are doing the material study research only very specifically and periodically at the moment. As for the natural gas here, I'm gonna bring it into a series of gas reservoirs before it's then gonna end up in the generators. So we would be first going up, but right now I'm just moving over and then down into the generators. Good, looks like we already started with the research. This is going to take a while. Let's maybe already charge up the material study once, though. Is this full? It still has 45 rat bolts. I'm first gonna use them up and then re-enable the system. Though, I think we can just go ahead and give this a little bit of priority. How much time do I have left? 16 cycles. Oh, yeah, before these cycles are over, we just need to make sure that we still have access to the room, maybe with an oil liquid lock. And then we can take our sweet time to finish this. Gotta do just a little bit of mopping. Yeah, that was already enough, and we can get this started. Now, I cannot have you going for the time being. I need all my power for the generators. Alrighty, we are back and the research is actually completed. We got access to the liquid pumps, the mini version, but then it occurred to me that they have a very low melting point, like 160 degrees, because they require plastic to build. So I decided to instead opt for a normal liquid pump made out of steel, which can take a little bit of heat. Now I got everything prepared in order to set up the liquid lock. If we manage to drop a little bit of oil on the first tile, we should have a liquid lock and therefore we can pump out the room. So maybe that's the first thing I'm gonna do, pick up some crude oil, enable auto bottle and make this a high priority. I already set up, no, I actually just deconstructed it. But what we need is a pitcher pump and we're gonna make this out of obsidian to give it a little bit more overheat temperature. And if we set this up somewhere here, we can then pick up the oil. I also got my pipework finished here. As mentioned, we are first gonna bring it up to a storage, but we can do that later on. And then of course the generators also have a CO2 output that we're just gonna dump into the world for now. Maybe one thing we can already do now that we have access to the mini gas pump is set one up right here. We will then be able to close this off and pump out the gases. We can then remove all these 3 pipes. Only the pipe here and the gas pump is going to remain. And I'm not sure I already explained this, but once we have a vacuum here, then the heat will not be able to interact with the outside of the contraption. There is my crude oil. We just need 1 drop. That's already enough. The rest we're going to mop up either way. Just this little piece here and then no air interchange can happen. And I know that is a little bit weird, but that is a video game for you. I'm also gonna set up a dispenser and bottle emptier here so I can get rid of the items that are still inside. And then we can simply go ahead, sweep up these items. Sweep only, all. No, you're not going to fabricate, you are going to pick up items. Nice. And there goes my oil, a little bit of disinfecting. The disinfecting goes really quick by now. Let's actually have a look at the stats again. We didn't do that in a while. We got 20 construction, 34 excavation, 23 machinery, 20 athletics, 17 science, and 25 strength. Everything else I haven't trained up yet. Well, agriculture a little bit, it's 8. But mind you, that is with all the bonuses, so the base stat is not actually 20, but 10 at the moment. Next up, I need a temporary way to give this some power, and I'm just going to use a coal generator here, plain out in the open. Gonna set up a smart battery to steer that, and I want to make sure this automation wire here gets built first, because once it is built, the default signal is red, therefore shutting down the generator, and it will not be wasting any coal until you're ready. So very good tip from the comment section. Something else I realized, I usually go to my duplicant and then tell them to go somewhere in order to do something, but that is actually way more complicated than just prioritizing something. For instance, the sandstone tile, we are just giving this the top priority, and as soon as you do that, it's going to be the current errand, so you don't even have to leave it on. You can go back to priority 5 and the duplicant will still go there. So now we built these tiles there and I don't actually have to move to my duplicant. So I just set it to top priority for a brief moment. That realization made things a lot easier for me. Now I'm not even sure we're gonna be having enough time. It's 5.4 cycles left. I think we need at least another pump. And of course, considering we want to get rid of the polluted oxygen, it might be wise to set up a gas vent over here. Get rid of that and make sure it's not actually landing in the generators. I want to first build the pump and all of that shebang, and then once we've done that, we're gonna tend to this project. This is gonna allow us to already pump out the room as quickly as possible. Maybe we can actually do it before the geyser becomes active again. Gas pump is in place, that means we can close this off. That would be one sorrow out of the way. I haven't really decided yet whether or not I want to use the wallpaper mod. Maybe you have an opinion on that. I figured maybe it's also sometimes nice to just see the mechanics of the contraption and not hide all the cabling and pipes. So maybe I'm going to be using the wallpaper mod more sparingly in this playthrough. Good. Looks like everything is in place. Let's set this to 95 and 60 as usual. Whenever I don't specify the setting, it's always going to be something like that. If I do something else intentionally, then I'm going to mention it. If I don't mention it, it's always 95 to 60. Let's lower the fuel threshold here a little bit and then make it the highest priority. So Nathan comes by and we're gonna set it to priority 7. There we have our coal and now the smart batteries are filling up. Wait a second. Whoops, I totally forgot about that one. You also gave me a bunch of good tips for the farm here. However, this is really just an emergency setup. We will tend to food soon and it's gonna be berry sludge right off the bat. Wonderful. Now we are pumping out the room 3.9 cycles before the next activation. Also, the mini gas pump is going for it. This is going to be fairly quick. Yeah, especially now that we have 2 pumps going for it. Very nice. I think we can do it. It's a very small room. We already pulled out 1.5 kilograms out of each tile in the room. Very good. Now, once this becomes a vacuum, the suppress notification mod is just a blessing. We don't need to see this notification. Yeah, there you go. Look at that. This goes much quicker than I anticipated. Obviously, I could have distributed the pumps a little bit better. At this point, we don't even need the 2 pumps anymore. We can already get rid of the additional one. Okay, maybe I planned this out a little bit too close for comfort. Next activity is 33 seconds. And we're down to about 50 micrograms of gases still in there. So now I'm hoping after these 20 seconds or so, it's still gonna take a while until it actually activates, but it would be preferable to get all of the polluted... Yeah, you can't make this stuff up. So let's first revert the signal here. I wanna stop pumping in this case, and yeah, we'll have to get rid of that, but you know, we just have to implement a little logic that we can later on remove again. Let me first check out the reservoirs. How large are they? And their input is right here. If we leave a little bit of space on the right side, we could set up some automation here. All we need is a gas pipe element sensor. We also want a NOT gate, some automation wire going from the sensor to the NOT gate to the pressure vent. And if we set this to natural gas, whenever there is some natural gas, it can just freely flow through to the gas reservoirs. This thing is now emitting 355 grams per second, so this room is gonna fill up quite quickly. Pipe sensor is already in place. Let's set that to, what are we looking for? Natural gas. Wow, this thing is only idle for about 0.4 cycles. This is not good news. Good. Next up, gas reservoir. We want one right there, and maybe let's already get started with 2 more. Actually, this adds up nicely. And we are simply gonna fill them up in sequence, so that the last reservoir will be filled the first. And then from the last reservoir, we're gonna join the pipe. That means I can remove these. We will also be encasing this whole shebang so we don't have any heat leakage, but that is not the most pressing issue right now. There's our second eruption, and of course the problem is natural gas is accumulating. Oh, actually now it just happened. It managed to compress the polluted oxygen, which is perfect. If these 2 packets combine as well, then I might be able to just sneakily pick it up. Yeah, well, you look at that. We might not even need that filter, to be honest. But, you know, I figured at some point we might inevitably pick up some steam with the gas pump, and this would also be a nifty way to get rid of it quickly. The pipe here is very short, though that actually reminds me, if we pick up steam, it would be great to insulate the pipes. So all the way up until the pressure vent, we want to insulate them. Thinking about it, in this case it might be worth going for a little bit of ceramic. I believe we should be able to do that. We just need clay and coal, both of which we have plenty of. So maybe I'm gonna prepare 50 or so crafts for that as well. And we will get some better insulation on those pipes. Though the pipe that is still inside the room doesn't need improvement. This can just remain a normal pipe. Look at that. Sometimes I love the mechanics of this game. There was so little polluted oxygen in there that it got deleted with increasing natural gas pressure. What a blessing. Now we can set the sensor to the correct setting. If we are above 4,000 grams, then I want to start pumping. At 5 kilograms, the natural gas geyser is going to overpressure, and we want to go way below that, but not too far. So we have a certain amount of pressure in here for the cooling process. This is going to get pretty toasty, and if we manage everything right, then we might not even have to deal with the steam. For instance, this hydro sensor, let's set this to above 20 kilograms. Let's do 50 kilograms. If we reach 50 kilograms of liquid on the floor, then I want to start pumping. This will in the future go into one of my storages. Right now I'm just dumping it. The same is happening with the carbon dioxide that will go into either a rocket or something like that. But right now we are also just dumping it outside the contraption. Now, actually, I made bad experiences with that because there is my liquid lock here with just a drop, and if we release the carbon dioxide right there, it might displace our drop. So instead, I want to bring it down and have that right there. We have reached the 2 kilograms mark. I think at this point I'm gonna disable the power system I set up here, the temporary one. This doesn't need to be entertained anymore. Once this is running, this is gonna be the first contributor to our core power source. And of course this cable is going to run through the entirety of the base. we're gonna be transporting the power all the way up at the moment. Where do I actually need it? I need it for my base. It would be nice to replace all of those cables, especially replace the various manual generators. I also would like to get rid of this system, just everything connected to one power system and then distribute it with power transformers. So I guess we first want to make our way all the way up. I should have enough iron to do so. And right here, we're probably gonna start with our first transformer. In order to supply everything to the base, probably one transformer is already gonna do. Let's set that up here, but I'm gonna turn it around so I can easily attach the cabling, and then all we need is a conductive wire going straight over. Now let me see, we will be ending up here. It would probably be nice to end up on this layer instead. Yeah, I'm first gonna move up and then we are gonna move all the way over, hop over here and then start to power up everything. Conductive wire bridge. Yes. For that I love the classic mode, just because you get tons and tons of lead, which essentially is refined metal. So, of course, in order to properly build that, we'll have to excavate everything, but that should be easily doable. Maybe a bunch of ladders here to help out. As for the natural gas, this is one of the earliest resources I would like to use up, so instead of 60%, I'm gonna push this to 90%. So we're gonna be only using other power sources if the natural gas generators cannot keep up, as they're basically gonna activate as soon as we lose power. Wonderful. Also, my ceramic is now going for it. This thing will output a lot of heat, so I don't want this running all the time, but some initial ceramics really help. We have reached the 3 kilograms mark, so maybe 1 or 2 more eruptions and we'll be going for it. This means I'm gonna be way too late to actually hook this up to my main power source, though we might still be able to do it. Not really. And then we'll also have to run it down. I just noticed, yeah, we also need the power downstairs, maybe even more importantly. Yeah, honestly, this would almost be perfect. We could set up another, where are you? Large power transformer. We could have that right here, connect the cable. We then bring a conductive wire all the way over to here. Did not mean to connect these guys. But there we go. This is going to be fairly easy to implement, and this way I should also be able to reach everything without losing too much of the chill from the biome. But you see, until I have all of this built, we're probably going to be a little too late. I guess what we can do is just fill up the gas reservoirs. This is going to give us some extra time. Yeah, let me actually go ahead and do that. I'm going to work on that cable job a little bit and be right back. Alrighty, we are back and I decided to go all the way. I actually had to add more gas reservoirs because we were filling up the first 3 ones, but essentially I'm now done with the cabling job all the way down to here. I added the power transformer and all of these cables, so they are now independent of the other system. And I also finished the cabling going all the way up. It is so valuable if you have the resources nearby. Since this is built out of iron ore, I just went nuts building this. And now I'm just about to finish this cabling job here, which then means we can replace all the cables inside of the base. And I mean all of them. Right now we have 2 separate circuits, but this is not going to be necessary anymore. So what I'm going to do is build actually another automatic dispenser here. We desperately need some lead upstairs, otherwise I always have to go all the way down in order to pick some up. And of course this isn't very efficient if you only ever bring up 100 kilograms. Wonderful. Now I should be picking up quite a bit, 1,600 kilograms. Oh, no, that was actually 2,400, so the maximum I can carry. And now I have plenty of it upstairs, so I can keep on building the cables much quicker. And of course, as mentioned, we're gonna replace everything, though I do not need the lower room here anymore, including the auto sweeper. We don't need to power this up, but we're just gonna run our cable through everything. And this so far seems to be working very nicely. The heating up part does take a while. We are only at 117 degrees and right now we don't seem to be going that much higher. So maybe over time we will realize that the lower portion isn't even necessary, but it's a good failsafe in case we are getting some steam eventually. Good, the cable replacement has started. Wonderful. That means I will also finally have some more consumers because at the moment I'm not even using the power, but we will. Honestly, it looks like we can use another expansion here. I have no issues with that. We just keep on building until we have enough. With this switch, I'm also gonna disassemble a couple of things. For instance, the crafting station. I can get another one once we need the oxygen masks again. That actually means we can also get rid of the jumbo battery. That will be less heat production inside of the base. Man, I just can't get over the fact that my duplicant is already this quick. It took like 2000 cycles for my first duplicant in the other playthrough to become this quick. But then again, Nathan never had a single minute of idling. I believe he pretends his bathroom speed use is decreased, so he has some idling time there. But I can't really prove it. I'm now preparing the next extension, and I think, yeah, look at that. We got our first steam, so that's a fairly good sign. Yeah, we are at 119 degrees, so with the next few eruptions we should be able to get rid of that liquid layer, and then the steam is gonna travel down. But I guess we will find out more about this functionality once we got everything in place and are actually actively using the power. Also, of course, I'm aware as long as we have a liquid layer down here, the steam will not be able to travel down because the liquid is in the way, but the idea, of course, is that in due time we should have everything converted to steam and there should be no liquid layer. You know, one consumer that I totally forgot to set up that is really important is this one here. The transit tube access points. Of course, we are using them all the time. So that would be a good way to already suck some power out of the system. But here we go. That is essentially it. We now have access to natural gas power. This guy is going to be dormant in 94 cycles, so that's going to take an enormous amount of time. And should we ever get some steam, of course, it's going to be dumped out here. That actually reminds me, we should now have access to ceramic. So like this pipe and the upper pipe I would want to replace with ceramic. We will also be getting the occasional polluted oxygen, but I do not mind about that because we have our filter here in place. And now I just have to hook up everything to this one single power system. All the transformers are going to be on the left side, and then we have straight lines of power cables going all over the place. Alright, we're back. I just couldn't wrap up the video like this, so I decided to go ahead and replace all the cables here on the top. And I also replaced all the cables here at the bottom. So they are now on one line, and I calculated everything. When I'm just using one machine, I will not run the risk of overloading this. In the meantime, as you can see, I also had to add a whole bunch more gas reservoirs. I believe this is going to be the maximum I'm going to implement. And I also noticed something really nice about this. As you can see by now, we converted all the liquid on the floor to steam, and this is actually a really good thing because even if I cannot store the gas in here, the natural gas geyser is able to output. And the reason for that is we never have the same amount of steam in here as we have natural gas. However, steam finds itself on the second layer, and this is exactly the output slot of the gas geyser. So there's only one problem to solve yet, and that is how we are gonna pick up the dirt. I might even go as far as removing the liquid pump. It doesn't seem very necessary. Now, if I'm not mistaken, we only have access, to the auto sweeper and nothing else. We cannot really ship out the dirt just yet, and it is also at a quite high temperature. So for now, I'm just gonna let it accumulate on the floor, but as soon as we have cooling systems in place for our items before they go to the storages, that's when we get back into this contraption in order to pick up the dirt automatically. But yeah, with all that out of the way and the old systems and coal generators replaced with the new power system, it's time to dive into the next episode. Thank you so much for watching, have a great time, and see you in the next one. Bye bye.